His true nature is the subject of much debate. Whether he is truly evil or just sharp with a soft core is always being questioned by the others. But whatever the case, no one can deny the horrible acts performed by none other than the devious Diesel himself. One evening, Donald and Douglas arrived in the yard feeling very cross.
"Oh dear, what's gotten into you?"
"It's that damn Diesel. He was being so crotchety that he caused an accident with our vans, which caused a 4-hour delay."
"Why am I not surprised?" "That sounds typical for him." "Indeed. But trust me, he's done much worse." "Oh, I know the story about his arrival. Duck told me everything."
"Everything, eh?"
"Well, almost. I'm still puzzled as to how he got sent away the first time. I've only heard Duck's side of the story, with the barber shop incident. What happened while he was away?"
"That's something I've always wondered as well. How did the Fat Controller find out?"
"Well, the Fat Controller was always skeptical about Diesel anyway, but he wanted to do a thorough investigation."
And this is the story Gordon told. Duck trundled sadly away, while Diesel smirked with triumph.
"Disgraceful! Disgusting!
Despicable!"
All right, you three. I will do a thorough investigation of the matter, but you mustn't jump to conclusions and snap out. Remember that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But we have proof. The trucks told us so."
The Fat Controller was silent for a moment, then laughed.
"Do you silly engines really think you can trust the trucks?"
And he walked sternly away. The three big engines felt very offended. They did not like being disregarded so quickly. Diesel, on the other hand, was very pleased. Now Gordon, Henry, and James were on his side. That evening, Edward returned to the shed, and he was outraged.
"I am truly disgusted at you three. The way you treated Duck was despicable. It was he who called us those horrid names, and the trucks too. Puh! Duck would never do anything like that. He may have got the better of you when he first arrived, but I can assure you that it would be very un-Great Western to talk dirty about others to, of all things, the trucks."
"Well, who did it then? I don't know anyone who would be that much of a bully."
Diesel was now doing quite well with the trucks. They loved hearing the false stories about Duck. The other engines were very impressed with Diesel.
"You do a wonderful job with those trucks. How do you get them to behave?"
"Oh, you know, I'm revolutionary. We Diesels have a few tricks up our grills." Diesel was so flattered that he didn't watch where he was going. He rolled right onto the main line, feeling very pleased with himself, when suddenly,
"Get out of my way!"
Diesel jumped and ran off the line just in time.
"Watch where you're going, dopey!"
The trucks laughed, and Diesel was furious.
Dopey Diesel indeed. Don't take it personally. He's just having a bad day. He and Gordon are both in an argument again about a delay.
I don't care whether he's having a bad day or not. I deserve much more respect than that. Just preposterous. James was right about Gordon and Henry. They were both very cross at each other.
"Because of you, I was late, and the passengers blamed it all on me, because you decided to block the line."
"The brake van had a faulty bogie and tipped over. What was I supposed to do?"
"You should have made sure the ruddy thing was suitable to roll, you big—"
"Will you two shut up?"
Meanwhile, Diesel was angrily bumping around the yard. he began to shunt a long line of trucks. Dopey indeed, first the Quacker, and now Henry too. Oh, how I hate steam engines. They're dirty, foul, smelly, and then smashed right into several express coaches, damaging them significantly. They wailed and screamed. "Oh! Oh! Who did that? Who did that?" Embarrassed, Diesel quickly reversed away as fast as he could. But the trucks had seen everything and were laughing hysterically.
"Oh, you've done it now, boy. You're gonna get into serious trouble."
Knowing this would be true, Diesel quickly made up a plan. "No, I won't. If anyone asks, you'll say it was Henry. He did it out of rage at Gordon."
"Why would we do that?"
Diesel grinned. "Because I'll tell the Fat Controller how well behaved you've been, and he will give you a special reward." The trucks liked this idea very much. "And if you do tell the truth, that would be a pity, as I'll bash your innards out!" The trucks jumped. Diesel lurked away, laughing at his clever plan. But he was soon stopped by the yard manager. "I just heard a massive crash. What happened?" Diesel told the manager his false story about Henry. "And he ran away before I could speak to him. He's gone. Boy, when he gets back, he'll be in huge trouble. This will cause massive delays for the express." And indeed, when Henry arrived at the station, the engines glared.
What's going on?
Don't act all oblivious, you monstrous vandal!
Excuse me? Alright, what did I do now?
What did you do? You've been a very bad engine, that's what!
Henry was shocked and confused.
Sir, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Liar! I've heard everything. I know you bashed the express coaches. Now, you were not at fault for the earlier delay, but taking out your anger like that is purely unacceptable.
Sir, there must be some mistake. I did no such thing.
Silence! You will stay in your shed for at least a few weeks.
No, sir. I did no such thing.
How dare you talk back to me like that?
How dare you accuse me like a criminal without evidence?
Everyone was silent. No one had ever shouted at the Fat Controller like that. He was very red and looked as if he was about to put an end to the big green engine when James spoke. "Sir, with all due respect, I have known Henry for many years, and something like that is, well, not in his nature. In fact, I would be surprised if Gordon did something like that. I'm not making any assumptions, of course, but I think it would be wise to, as you said, presume innocent until proven guilty. Henry was in his shed all morning, for I know, so I suggest you investigate." The Fat Controller took James's words with much thought. Everyone was wondering if he'd punish James, too. "That is a very valid point, James. I shall investigate and keep an open mind. But on the other hand, I will say you and Henry are being a bit hypocritical by immediately blaming Duck for the names. Now, he may be guilty, but regardless, the way you three have handled the situation is childish. I shall thoroughly investigate both these matters now." All of a sudden, Gordon, Henry, and James felt sorry.
"Well, if Henry's innocent, do you think Duck is?"
"Well, Gordon, you're a smart engine. Why don't you figure that out?" Those words stuck in Gordon's head for a very long time. Then he saw Diesel roll by in the distance.
I wonder if that Diesel's been up to something.
Meanwhile, the trucks were debating Diesel's foul words.
He threatened to bash us inside out. Who does he think he is, talking to us like that? Alright, foul pompous ass. That's who. Mate, remember, we'll be rewarded if we keep silent. Rewarded? Bah! When has Fatty ever rewarded us for anything? Old Oiler's just saying that to get out of trouble. You're absolutely right about that. And I reckon all those stories about Duck were false. It don't matter. Duck bumped us. We paid him back. Remember? Yes, but now Diesel's gonna do something worse. He's right. We'll get toasted by Diesel if we tell the truth. Remember? Oh, for God's sake, don't be so ruddy stupid. If he did that, he'd be sent packing. Which would happen anyway if the Fat Controller finds out about his tall tales. I say we teach him a lesson for threatening us like little children. Shh! He's coming now!
Diesel rolled into the yard, being very cocky. Revolutionary! I will show Sir Topham Hatt just that. This railway is antiquated with all those steaming teapots. When the Fat Controller finds out how good I am, he will send every one of his steam engines away. The age of the diesel has come.
Ow! You know, I think it would be funny if he was sent away instead. Let's do it and see if he actually has the courage to take us on.
The trucks all laughed in agreement. Just then, they saw the Fat Controller and the yard manager approaching. Now was their chance.
Let me ask you, sir, who told you what Henry had done?
Why, it was Diesel, sir. The trucks also said it too.
That's because he threatened to bash our innards out if we told the truth. It was Diesel that did it out of pure clumsiness. He put the blame on Henry to cover up.
The Fat Controller's face went red.
I knew it! Are you sure it was him?
Yes, and he told us some tall tales about Duck name-calling.
There was a long silence.
Well, I never. I shall deal with him at once. And I don't usually say this, but thank you for your honesty. If this good behavior continues, you shall be rewarded.
The trucks were delighted. Meanwhile, the three big engines were at the shed. Gordon had a declaration to make.
Henry, I believe you have been falsely accused. It now comes to my senses that though we had an argument, something of that scale is not in your nature. And besides, remember that alliance we made back in 25?
Indeed. It was only natural you would be angry after hearing the story. Let's put this issue behind us.
Thank you, Henry. And this has brought me to another realization.
And what's that?
I believe Duck may have been framed.
Why do you think that?
Because, well, at first I believed it. But now that I think about it, it just doesn't seem right. Duck may have been boasting, but I just cannot see him do something as horrid as that.
Well, if Duck was framed, who do you think did it?
I think the culprit was probably Diesel.
Diesel? But Gordon, he's so polite.
And I thought that too. Gordon, I'm sorry to say, but your assumption is correct. I was always suspicious of Diesel, but now I no longer trust him, having heard everything. And to add to that, you were right to tell me to investigate the coach bashing incident, as it was not Henry. Again, it was Diesel.
Friends, we have been disrespected, manipulated, and betrayed!
Diesel was returning to the yard, but at the station all the engines barred his way. They were furious. Whee!
Keep out! Stop that! What is going on?
I want to get through. I'm tired.
So are we. We are tired of you. We like Duck.
We don't like you. You tell tales about Duck and Henry to the trucks. Diesel gulped. He knew he was in trouble now. I did no such thing.
Liar!
Liar yourself! Where's your proof?
Where's our proof? The trucks told the Fat Controller, and the Fat Controller told us. You made us make complete fools out of ourselves by accusing Duck, and now he has been sent away because of you.
Diesel went very red.
I warned those trucks. Now I will go and kick their shabby wooden... Silence! You lay one buffer on them and you will be melted into a soup can. Now then,
I recall you saying something along the lines of, to think Duck of all engines, I'm dreadfully grieved, sir. Indeed, sir. Diesel was very pleased. The Fat Controller believed him, or so he thought.
It is certainly grieving that Duck of all engines would tell vulgar tales to the trucks. And the reason it is grieving is because it is simply not true. Now I know Duck played a trick on you, but what you did was false incrimination, also known as framing, which is one of the most damaging crimes one can do to another, and you have done the exact same thing with Henry.
Sir, let me explain.
That will not be necessary. I know everything. First of all, you caused significant damage by being careless. It was accidental, but that's not the point. Not only did you lie about it, you made up a completely bogus story about poor Henry. This behavior is disgraceful,
disgusting,
despicable.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Diesel tried to come up with excuses, but it was no good. He was in big trouble.
I'm afraid your time on this railway is up, my friend. You shall return to the mainland immediately.
Return, sir? Please, give me another chance.
After telling vicious stories twice, you are nothing but a bully, and I cannot accept that on my railway.
Diesel went very red, but said nothing.
And by the way, you should have known that you can never trust trucks. Huge mistake on your part.
Diesel slinked slowly away as the other engines glared at him. He soon disappeared out of Knapford Station. Suddenly, there was an emergency, and the Fat Controller had to dash off. That evening, he returned and informed the engines about the situation.
Duck has been in an accident and is being repaired at the works.
The engines felt terrible.
Fortunately, because of his bravery, not a single person was harmed. He shall return tomorrow, and I think you all better give him a good apology. However, after that, I think we should put this all behind us. This has been a learning experience for all of us. Gordon, James, and Henry, it is natural for you three to get angry. However, it is best to know the facts first, before jumping to conclusions. The engines could only agree. The next day, when he returned, there was a big welcome for Duck the Great Western Engine. We're so sorry about this, Duck. We should have known you would never have done this. We are truly ashamed. It's not you who told the lies. It's quite all right. But you know, the Great Western Way is a proper way to do things. But it isn't the only way.
Well, that doesn't matter, because your bravery was definitely a pure trait of the Great Western Way. all the other engines whistled in agreement and were very proud of their number 8 engine.
So there you have it. Diesel had made a plan with the trucks, yet it was them who ratted him out.
Never trust trucks, that's for sure. But I'm confused. If he was sent away, then why is he now a permanent resident?
Come on, Gordon. It's time for your evening train. Well, it's a bit of a long story. Right now, I think it should be saved for another time.
And with that, Gordon puffed away to find his coaches. Early one morning, Boko was getting a passenger train ready when he saw Diesel shunting in the yard.
Good morning.
Diesel stopped, as if to say something, but he remained silent. He then carried on with his work. To be honest, Boko wasn't surprised. But that changed that afternoon when Diesel rolled up alongside.
Hello, I'm, sorry I didn't respond this morning. It's just, well, no one really says things like that to me.
It's all right. Better late than never, I suppose.
You see, I have a reputation, no doubt you've heard of it, but I've changed now.
I can see that very well. Let me ask you, though, what was it that made the Fat Controller keep you on this railway? What made you a permanent resident?
Well, it's a bit of a long story, but I guess you have the right to know.
And this was the story Diesel told. After he was lifted out of the barge, Diesel left in disgrace. It had been the 3rd time he had messed up on the Fat Controller's railway, and knew now he was never coming back. He stopped at Croven's gate for the night. The news had already spread, and even the narrow-gauge engines scowled at him. Diesel said nothing. He just sulked like he usually did. He slunk into the shed and moped. His dream, however, was not very reassuring. It was a nightmare about his brothers. But what was more unsettling was the fact that the nightmare was true. The next morning, Diesel woke up very late. His night had not been good.
By God, is he still here? Filthy bastard.
Come on, Diesel, it's almost 11. Meanwhile, not far down the line, there was trouble. Though definitely the largest, the steamworks isn't the only center for repairs on the island of Sodor. There are several places where minor repairs are handled. One of these is situated at the old steamworks at Croven's Gate. However, today there was trouble. The electrical wires were all faulty. There was suddenly a loud surging noise.
Oi! What might that be?
We need to get the electric wires fixed.
Indeed, I can smell it.
Hang on, that smells very burnt. There must be a fire.
There was indeed, but before it could be extinguished, it ignited a fuel barrel. Oh Christ, quick, get the hose! But it was no use. The fire had spread to the walls. The fire alarm blared and everyone ran out.
Hey, what about us, folks?
The workmen had already evacuated. It was at this time that Diesel came buzzing by. Oh Lord, look at that!
Help!
Neither Oliver nor Salty could move. They had no fuel and steam. Diesel sat there, staring at the engines who were about to be engulfed in flames. What are you doing? Are you mad? Diesel pulled Oliver and Toad out of the burning building to safety. He then shoved Salty out the other end. He was just in time as the flames reached the tracks. He was feeling very hot and exhausted, but suddenly realized that all the workmen were cheering for him. Oliver was in shock. He didn't know what to think. Neither did Salty or Diesel. By that time, the firefighters were already dousing the flames. Soon, the fire was out. The Fat Controller raced to the scene. Electrical fault. It set off a fuel barrel. That's what we think.
Indeed. This building was due for renovation. Guess we should have done it earlier. Thank goodness you're all safe.
Well, it was thanks to Diesel that me, Oliver, and Salty are still standing.
The Fat Controller stared at Toad. Then his eyes fixated on Diesel.
Is that true, gentlemen?
Yes, sir. With quick thinking, he pushed them both out to safety. The Fat Controller's eyes narrowed. He walked over through the burnt building to Diesel. He was about to say something, but stopped. There was a long silence. At last he spoke.
Meet me at Vickerstown later, and I shall talk with you.
Yes, sir. And with that, the Fat Controller walked away. No one knew what to think, and no one said anything. Later that day, Diesel rolled into Vickerstown. The Fat Controller was waiting. Diesel tried to hide the fact that he was dreadfully nervous. Good evening, sir?
Good evening. As you probably know, you have failed all 3 trials on this railway.
Diesel gulped. He couldn't deny that.
You framed Duck and then made a mess of the harbour twice, and your attitude towards steam engines is quite frankly despicable. My father would have never had let you come back, let alone 2 times.
Yes, sir. Sir Topham Hatt paused impressively.
However, your actions today were nothing more than heroic. I do not know many engines who would be able to race through a burning building to save others, and I must commend you for that.
Diesel didn't know what to say.
You've put me in a bit of a difficult moral dilemma. Engines who tell lies and have no respect are sent away. However, those who risk their lives to save others are of tremendous praise.
I see what you mean. The Fat Controller paused again.
Therefore, I will renew your trial and give you 1 final chance. But I mean it this time.
Oh, thank you so much, sir. I will try my hardest. I am truly sorry for what I have done in the past, and will be a really useful engine.
We'll see if you can keep that promise. Now, run along.
And sure enough, Diesel did. He got into a few arguments at first, and the engine simply believed he had done it for attention, but he was a different engine. He stayed silent and did his work without fuss. And so the Fat Controller decided to keep me. He put me on shunting duty at Vickerstown. Of course, I did have a few mishaps after that. A year later, I came up with a scheme to get Fergus sent to the smelters. But aside from that, I've changed my attitude.
Well, I can definitely see that you have.
My brothers, of course, were withdrawn, and I suddenly realized that I was obsolete as well.
Definitely understand that. Only one of my brothers is alive today, but no matter what happens, you're safe here on Sodor.
Indeed. Sodor is a safe haven to all types of locomotives, whether steam, diesel, electric, you name it.
How come I haven't heard of this story?
I guess the steam engines don't discuss it, and I don't blame them, after all the negative associations with me.
Well, I'm sure they don't have a negative image of you now. Unfortunately, I have to get going. But please, if you ever need any help, give me a shout and I won't judge you.
Why, thank you, Boko. Goodbye. And with that, the big green diesel headed off. Meanwhile, Proven had been watching in the distance.